Hello everyone, I'm Anna Orlando, Press and PR Manager Visit Denmark, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you here today for the second episode of Mad About Denmark to Sustainability and Beyond. Before starting the event, I would like to give you some practical information. You can talk to us via the chat. Our technical staff is available in case of need. And you can use the chat to send your question. Please consider that your name is not visible in the chat unless you indicate it while accessing the platform. And you can set up the full screen function by clicking on the icon located on the right of the webinar. If you followed us for the first episode of Mad About Denmark, you might remember that Mad About Denmark is a series of events dedicated to the Danish gastronomy and organized by Visit Denmark in cooperation with the Danish Agriculture and Food Council. I would like now to start the presentation, and as you know, today we are going to talk about sustainability. And if we want to talk about sustainable gastronomy, the starting point is a sustainable produce in all senses, but not only produce, of course. I would like now to give the floor to Mette Gammicchia, representing the Danish Agriculture and Food Council.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you to Visit Denmark for the invitation and for the collaboration about Mad About Denmark. I represent the Danish Agriculture and Food Council. The Danish Agriculture and Food Council represents the farming and food industries of Denmark, including companies, trade, and farmers' associations. The Danish food industry has a vision to be climate neutral by 2050. In close partnership with our members, we will show an economic sustainable way to a climate neutral food production. This is an ambition that both large and small players in the industry have come together and agreed upon, an industry initiative to support the green agenda. We represent a strong Danish food cluster committed to finding solutions to the world's climate challenges. Fortunately, in Denmark, we have all the conditions required to take the initiative and lead the way towards climate-neutral food production. According to World Resource Institute, Danish pork production is the most climate efficient worldwide. And Danish dairy production is among the 3 lowest in the world in relation to climate efficiency. So the starting point is quite good. But the question is, how do we reach the goals for the future? We must find new solutions, new techniques. And we work in 4 areas. We work in the fields. It is in the crop production that our greatest reduction potential lies. We work with the energy. Biogas plants convert livestock, manure, and organic waste into environmentally friendly energy and fertilizer and limit CO2 emissions. We work in the stables. Adding fat to cow fodder reduces the amount of methane in the cow's stomach. And we work in the pigsties. Initiatives that modifies livestock manure management can reduce emissions from pigsties. Furthermore, we plan to increase production of green proteins and to increase the agricultural area with crops with 20% in a few years' time, along with initiatives which stimulate innovation of new products containing more green proteins. Consumer demand is important for the green agenda, and so is the work with taste. If the taste is not satisfying, the new green food product will not be consumed. And what can we do in the kitchen and as a consumer? Well, we think we could start with reducing food waste, use more vegetables, use less processed ingredients, follow the season, and finally, not eat too much. I hope the following discussion will bring experience and new ideas on sustainability in gastronomy on the table. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Matt. It's now time for me to introduce you Andrea Petrini. Andrea is, thank you, Andrea, and welcome. Andrea is the curator and the moderator of the 3 events Mad About Denmark. And most of you already know him, not only because you possibly followed the first event with Copenhagen, but also thanks to his fantastic work as journalist, cultural editor, food curator, and road manager of Jelly Nuts. Now I leave the floor to Andrea and let him introduce the concept of To Sustainability and Beyond, and to our special guests that are with us today. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Anna. So the concept, we are all here today to talk about sustainability, but the title exactly goes like this: To Sustainability and Beyond. And I'm quite sure that you have all recognized a little clin d'oeil, a little tribute to Toy Story, the first Pixar movie, released in the early 90s, where one of his major character, Buzz Lightyear, he used to fly around. He was a superhero, and he always said to infinity and beyond. And for me, sustainability needs maybe a beyond, for many reasons, because first of all, I'm not an expert on sustainability, so I'm waiting to hear and to learn a lot from our guest today. But also, once we have decided, understood what is really sustainability, we can maybe try to open the next door and go beyond. So today we have the huge pleasure to have a few people from Copenhagen. Okay, we have René Redzepi from the restaurant Noma. We have Christian Puglisi, who was years ago the first, may I say, Christian, not Noma spin-off, but the first one of the former Normal team to start a life of your own and open first Relais, then Manfred's, and many other restaurants. And last but not least, we have Camilla Seidler, which Camilla might be even probably one of the bravest girls that we have met recently, because she might have stayed in Copenhagen, opened the restaurant in Copenhagen, and do a life of her own. But then in the early 2013 or 12 or 14, she chose the hard way. She went straight to Bolivia to open a restaurant in Bolivia, to open a culinary school in Bolivia, and to, we might say, confront the Nordic idiom with the local ingredients, with the local cultures. And now she is back to Copenhagen. The rest, this is going on very well in Bolivia. And Camilla opened at the end of 2019, right, Camilla?
Yes.
We finally opened our own restaurant, Lola, which is a very interesting place with lots of food, lots of colors, lots of memories of other countries in a very informal way. And she might be one of the most prototypal new kind of restaurants also for the Nordic region. And so I would like, if you guys allow me, to start with Camilla, because I'm a gentleman, and then also it's nice to see how like a newcomer works within this sustainable kind of action. So Camilla, we all aim, you chefs, journalists, normal consumers, we all aim to an established and functional form of sustainability. But how does that quest, the quest to sustainability, start, and how is it applied in a restaurant, in a new restaurant like yours? Also, I know that inside Lola you have a department, Lola Help, stuff like that, right? How does that work? Can you tell us?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for having me here today.
Our pleasure. Are you happy to have Camilla with us, guys? Thanks to you, Camilla.
So the word sustainability, and I agree with your presentation before, is a word that's it's been thrown up in the air quite a lot and covering a lot of subjects. And coming from almost 6 years in Bolivia and then landing back in Copenhagen, sustainability means very different things to very different people depending on where you are on the planet. What we tried to also what we have realized here at Lola when we started up was that even though we have cracked a lot of the codes in Denmark, there's still some social aspects that we need to include in this whole sustainability talk. For me, if we look at a strictly food consumption point of view regarding sustainability, you come to Bolivia and you have a little bit of experience from Denmark. My task to go there was just do whatever René did in Denmark and then do it over there. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. But I'm happy for the confidence and we'll try and push some of the agendas. And it was interesting to see how the Danish way of thinking and developing has been sufficiency overall, which is also, of course, why we have gotten to where we are production-wise, food production-wise. And then coming to Bolivia, who struggled to become more efficient, to feed more people. And then we come back home and we try to become more sustainable and go back to the roots. So it's kind of two worlds clashing. And the biggest difficulty has been actually sourcing small producers. And sitting here with you, René and Christian, I mean, you are probably the role models we're all looking to when we start a restaurant in Copenhagen, because it's not something you just do. You don't just call a small producer and call 20 of them and then you have a restaurant going. It's a lot of work and it's very complicated also to make ends meet financially. And it's a completely different way of thinking restaurant when so many easy solutions are in the market. And then also wanting to add a more social aspect, a more social human aspect, was also to try and include employees that has difficulties coming into the labor market. So at Lola, we wanted to make sure, if not full time, then at least have part timers that had difficulties finding jobs in a normal setting for different reasons. And also to be able to carry that social responsibility on our shoulders as part of a good citizen or a good business model. So finding that balance between not only trying to source the best product and the most sustainable product and doing the whole math between a non-organic close by producer versus an organic something created in Spain, like where like all this information is difficult to source and it's something you need to look very much into, but at the same time also combining that with the human aspect for us it's been a challenge, but it's also something we enjoy doing and it's something we're still learning and we still hope to be much better at.
And part of your strategy of having people, of working with people who have problems getting a job, that is also part of what I said before, Lola Help.
It's we call it Lola Impact, and it's just it should just be a natural part of who we are. It shouldn't be like an extra like special help or a program on the side. It's something we need to introduce and pay people a normal salary, and then it's on us to make sure that these amazing people with a lot of incredible stories are introduced into the team and feel part of the team as any other co-worker.
Okay. A question for René Redzepi. As I said, I'm not an expert on sustainability, but I read quite a lot, and I have the impression that these days being sustainable is like an ABC. It's like the first element of a language, or say the language of how to run a business, how to run a restaurant. When you want to run a business with some logic and some community shared values. But behind the many practical details, and as Camilla highlighted, what is sustainable in Denmark might not be the same thing in Bolivia and vice versa. Apart from the practical details, how can a restaurant like Noma be sustainable, not only for, say, the zero waste, the carbon print, the choice of ingredients, etc., but also being sustainable in terms of creativity, in terms of its own evolution in a kind of a controlled ecosystem.
Well, oh, I'm laughing because you are hitting the nail on our great issue. You know, trying to have a place that takes into account the well-being of our team, the well-being of our business, the well-being of the planet, staying creative on the edge, thinking differently, having the space and the time and the energy to continuously have that and do that, whilst also dealing with everything that you feel you're obliged to deal with as an individual of the world, you know. And that's hard. I mean, we're almost 18 years in now. And I feel only in the last couple of years we've been able to have an organization that can actually properly deal with many of these issues. It's taken us that long. And I really like when Camilla starts talking about this thing about price and value and what can you charge. And it's so difficult to find that local food ingredient producer. It actually costs extra to do that. You need a team dedicated to that. We have 3 people dedicated just for this on full time. And this, for me, leads me to one of the biggest issues I have with all this food and sustainability question is the value that there is towards food is, in my opinion, at an all-time low. Andrea Petrini, I remember about 10 years ago, we were having an interview, and you one of the questions you asked me, what will be the future of food, which is a question I receive every year. And I just said more expensive. And this is one of the key things to my issue with all this debate about sustainability is that at the end of the day, everything that we do is too cheap. It doesn't matter if you're a cook or if you're a purveyor of organic raspberries. The way we value food, the way we want it to be, is just simply too cheap. And there's a great problem in actually changing that value system. One thing I've also learned over the years in all the work that we've done at MAD and just at NOMA, sustainability needs to be delicious if you're to convince anyone. It's not enough to wear a woolen sweater that will itch you every minute that you're wearing it because it's the right thing to do. If it's not comfortable, it won't win anyone over. And I feel that is a very big factor for changing anything. As a cook, you know, we had this great dilemma approximately 6 years ago as we were opening up the new NOMA. We wanted to do 100% vegetarian restaurant. And then the business side kicked in. You know, how will we have a full restaurant all year long, only serving a vegetarian meal? And we decided not to go for that straight away because it was just simply not there yet, even though that we felt that we had the opportunity to actually serve vegetables in a way, a full meal all year long, in a way where people wouldn't miss a piece of fish or a slice of beef, in a way that they didn't see in the way that where they didn't feel like they were eating garnish, I should say. And I mean, this is a very shallow sort of 5-6 minutes talk into the dabble into the world of how do we participate in changing the world, because we need all of us to participate some way. One thing that I know 100% is that it needs to be delicious, whatever change comes our way. And I think that's one of our key roles that we can have as cooks, is finding new opportunities and making them delicious so that we convince people that you can actually eat in a different way. And then continuously talking about this value system that we have towards food, that food is in general just way, way, way too cheap. We are decades away from anyone in our trade having that middle-class life standard with a car and a house in the suburbs and 2 annual vacations. I mean, if we want everyone in our system talking about chefs, talking about the lorry driver that takes care of the ingredients, even the farmer and their assistants, we're so far away from that. And that's even in a place in Denmark, you know, and you can imagine in Bolivia or Mexico, wherever, we're so far removed. So continuously talking about what sort of values we want for food. What is the real cost of things, you know? Nothing is cheap. And every time something is cheap, somebody's paying. It could be a tree or a lake, a person you can't see. That's the reality. The chef in the back of the kitchen.
Makes sense, chef. Makes sense. Of course, Camilla and Christian, feel free to jump in if you want to snap back to René. But while you are prepared to do that, Christian, I have a very simple question for you. As I said, you started a lot of restaurants from Relais, Manfred, Beast, etc. But your latest brainchild, it's the Farm of Ideas, which is a farm where you produce food outside of Copenhagen. When you started that in 2015, 2016, it was something unprecedented. My question is, was it in those days difficult to plan, to organize, and then to keep running? And now, 5-6 years later, what is the next step for the Farm of Ideas? How to improve on that model concept? How to grow? What is the limit?
Well, the simple answer is yes. It was very difficult, and it has been very difficult to organize, and it's been very difficult to upkeep. And today it's been 5 years, and I have in the 5 years gotten what I wanted out of it, which was what would I learn if I would be out in the field? What would I learn if I would take total responsibility of the food that we serve by being a part of the production of it? And it has taught me how incredibly difficult it is to produce food for quality factors, particularly for making cheap bulk mass produce food. I think is probably just as difficult, but I got to step into a world that showed itself being extremely intricate, extremely political, extremely rigid, and has a very hard time developing. You in Denmark are in a country that is one of the most cultivated countries in the world, and it has lived for many generations as an export agricultural country, and has made quite a good living standard based on that. But reality is that that scope has become extremely difficult as the prices have been going further and further down, and the competition has become global, because what you today see as mass produced, people could see as high quality 50 years ago. So things have changed to an extent that we are in Denmark very focused on an export market, and an export market per se needs to be standardized, industrialized, and easy to ship and sell and understand. and that kind of makes it difficult for the part of farming and producing foods that is looking.
That could be said also for, excuse me, Christian, that could be said also for Germany, France, Italy. No?
Not to the same extent. Italy is one of the countries where you have the most small family-owned farms in Europe. You have mountains, you have a forest, you have a much more diverse scene. In France, you have an extremely diverse sort of underground of small farms that produce things. Of course, you have the big industrialized system, but you have some places, particularly Denmark and Holland, that are extremely industrialized, and it is in the shape of being efficient and good at it. And we also had in the speech here, we are the most clean agriculture in the world, but that's dependent on how you look at the numbers. To me, what I wanted to do was to create something that was diverse and to have something that could really give us a lot of variation. And reality is that is extremely difficult to obtain for commercial purposes, because in the end, whether you like it or not, doing a restaurant has a commercial purpose. It has a commercial foundation. If not, it's not a business. You can't pay people. You don't make a living. It's not going to happen. So when you do things for commercial purposes, it has some limitations, and that's what we face, all of us, if we want to go a little bit beyond the most standardized types of food. But when you are dealing with gastronomy, it is expected of you, and you probably go into gastronomy because you want to do something that is in the outlines of the agricultural world. You want something that is special. You want to create something that is special based on something that is special. So we have a task to try and look out for the diversity and try to expand on it and valorize it. The problem is that it becomes very, very, very difficult to translate it into a business. And that is the reality of things. And in 5 years, I can say I looked in and it was really scary. And I'm a little bit like this now. Whoa. Because I've had the food department show up with literally badges at the restaurant for things that we were supposed to be doing that were illegal. That makes no sense whatsoever that they were illegal. All these things that we like to talk about, circular economy, reducing waste, all these things are made just almost impossible by a system that is so rigid, that has such a high risk understanding of risk, that it doesn't want anything to go wrong. And when you don't want anything to go wrong, it's very difficult to actually create a new system. And in the name of security, risk, export, economy, many potential solutions are put down. That is, to me, what I learned from 5 years of trying.
But I think, again, things should not be that different from Germany, France, Italy, or whatever. When the problems of bureaucracy, of slowness, of getting accepted, being recognized, we all know that it takes time, right? What do you think?
Takes time to what?
To get things done, and to be recognized for what you do in a different way from the more traditional food systems, for example.
But the problem is many of the systems that we have now, the things that I face, if I say, oh, I know you cannot feed this to animals. Like for us, it's a completely obvious thing, or for many of us, if you have at least a bit more of a romantic idea of the farm, is the fact that, for example, pigs used to be, what would eat all the remainings of the household. No, you would pour out all the extra foods, because pigs are omnivores. They can eat everything that we can do. So it makes sense that it's the most sustainable way to make proteins is to have them eat the stuff that is otherwise thrown out. But because of a heavily industrialized system years back, created a situation that became the BSE, the mad cow disease. There is a completely zero tolerance policy towards any animals having anything that is considered waste. right? Which means that the potential way of creating proteins based on stuff that is otherwise has to be burned and be a complete disaster for the environment is completely out of the question. And this is something that, based on a European level, takes you, if you want to make a change in laws like this, it takes you about 10 years of bureaucratic work. 10 years. So to find solutions for a future in a dynamic way, it becomes very difficult if you have to deal with a bureaucratic system that is what it is now. The food system is extremely intricate, extremely.
Okay, guys, we already have a few questions. So first of all, a question for the three of you, which is a very simple one. How sustainable, how different your restaurants will be when you will reopen in Copenhagen in May, somewhere in May? How more sustainable they will be after all these months of lockdown?
Camilla?
Well, more or less sustainable. Right now we're working hard on a project called Bowline, where we try to push a more an agenda saying that, like Christian has farm of ideas, it's a long time, it's 5 years, like René said, 18 years of working to get more or less where you want to be. And hearing those numbers for a new restaurant like us makes you pee your pants. So of course it's we will take all the help we can get, and I think what chefs have become the last couple of years and the last decade is more policy makers than actual cooks. And I think one of the important agendas that we can also do is help each other. If I need to know who's the most sustainable kitchen supplier, whatever, cleaning supplies, then I can call my colleagues and they will say, we tested the market and these people are definitely the ones to go with, and so on. So I think sharing knowledge is something we definitely need to work on and to share, especially with the younger generation that's even more eager than many of us to be sustainable from day one, which is a big task.
Christian, René, Christian.
Polisi?
Well, how much sustainable? To me, the whole being sustainable as a restaurant, as it cannot be a yes/no question. Is it sustainable or not sustainable? I think it's a question of maybe you know what? If you say sustainability and beyond, I would say beyond sustainability, you have responsibility, which is sustainability without the bullshit. You know, you go to a point where you actually start making choices that are informed and responsible towards yourself, your future self in 10 years. You know, things you can live up to having done, and also the people around you. This lockdown has obviously for everybody been an extremely difficult situation. It can only be doing to you, a sort of a process of reconsidering everything. I think it's a good time to reconsider, where is it that you put your plastic? You know, are you dealing with your plastics or are you not dealing with your plastics? But also considering the sustainability of a restaurant, how is it built for you as a restaurateur, as a chef, in a way that will keep it going in an intelligent and informed many years forward? Because we're facing a crisis now. And the good thing about crisis is that they do tend to cut out the bullshit. So if you go into the next phase, spending this time thinking, what is at the essence of what I do? What is important to me? What is it that I need to fight for? Then you will come out stronger and more informed. No? So in the sense of thinking sustainability, I think it's important to go beyond a little bit a green label or green approach. It needs to be a responsible approach.
Yeah, fantastic points from both of you. Well, I think in the short term, the sustainable thing to do for us when we open is to get back on track financially. Honestly, if I can just be like bluntly honest, that's really on our radar right now, is actually financially getting through the next year and a half or maybe 2 years, and figuring out how we do that. Of course, from a personal level, I agree with everything Christian says, and I can feel it on all my colleagues. I can feel it here at Noma, myself. Everybody has been thinking for the past year, it's a moment of reflection. And do Noma, do I personally want to participate even stronger in finding solutions and being a positive force that supports initiatives and supports people that are at least trying? I can only say that in the past year, I want to throw myself more into that. That's 100% sure. But in the short term, we just need to get through this financially. We're going through a 5th month of lockdown, second lockdown. We're slated to open May 6th, I guess. May 6th, yeah, if everything goes well. Then we'll see after the summer where we are at.
Okay, I have a question again for the three of you. Will the pandemic make fine dining even more sustainable, or might it have just the opposite effect?
I don't think we can say that yet, but I don't think there's going to be an ecological revolution coming out of the pandemic. I really don't think so. I think the first day after the second lockdown in Copenhagen, there was just as much trash, if not more, on the streets. I don't think so. I think, the good thing about this pandemic, when talking about the environment, is that before the pandemic, when people asked me, I was in Turkey, and they said, what can we do? And I was like, you know what? I think as humanity is going to wait until the very last minute. Once we've tried everything else, we're going to do the right thing. But it's at the very last minute when you have like snowballs falling as big as cars falling down that can actually kill us, and we can visibly feel it. And I thought, will we even change that? And having seen the pandemic, how you can actually adjust to a new situation so quickly, that really has been a very positive factor for me in this. And I do think that eventually there will be a great mega change coming. I don't know how that will be. Until then, we're going to try in our small ways, but there will be some government-sanctioned worldwide mega change coming, whether it's in 5 years, 20 years, wherever. But that will really be the big change.
Camilla?
But not coming out of the pandemic. I don't think so.
No, I agree with René. I think people are gonna. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna see some side effects to this, both on
some more of the same. No, what?
No, in terms of us suddenly being all green and happy and sustainable in our private lives as Danes. Unfortunately, I don't see that coming out of it. I also, again, if we go back to when organic carrots were first introduced, a normal kilo of carrots were maybe 4 crowns, and the organic was maybe 12 or 16 crowns. It was enough for a normal person with a normal economy to go down and say, "Oh, I can't afford it." Now, 25 years later, it's leveled out and it's almost 1-to-1, and people automatically choose the organic choice if it's already made for them. And coming back to trash in the streets and everything, if we do a normal trash collection here at Lola, it costs us about, round numbers, 4,000 a month. If we do sorting plastic, metal, everything as we should and as we have been, it's almost 14,000 a month to collect trash. So if, again, we're being punished for doing the right thing. So these are also political decisions. If they were chosen for us already, then we would be forced to do the right thing. And I think that's hopefully some of the decisions we're going to see in the future, but not because of the pandemic, but because we will continue to push for everybody to become better people and more sustainable for for the environment and for ourselves.
Since you just said political, we just received a question again for the three of you, which resounds a bit like a question that we had last month. And I go, is the hype of sustainability a problem for it to progress on a broader level, like the guide Michelin New Green Award, which has been highly questioned? I was just reading the question.
Well, I mean, I think I don't know any cook who don't think that specific star or whatever is a little bit of a greenwashing project, and that is the problem with this sustainability. I mean, now it's regenerative agriculture, and you will find all the big companies around the world saying they're investing heavily in regenerative agriculture, and it's like 0.1%. And so the word in itself, sustainability, is a difficult one because you almost don't believe it anymore when people say it. It's
what do you mean you almost don't believe it anymore?
I mean, because everybody just uses it. There's no trademark on it. You can use it on everything. If you want to, you can create a little green dot, and you can say, "Oh, that's because we're focused on sustainability," and that's it. There has no value.
So if I say I am a sustainable journalist,
Andrea, you could go around restaurants and you can be the new sustainable food writer, and you could simply just put a label on everything, and that's it. You are that. We don't have any. I don't know. I don't know how even to get there, but I'm sure Christian can elaborate and dive much more into this one.
Christian, would you like to elaborate?
He loves this.
Elaborate.
No, love is not the word, but I think it's just we just tend to. There's a few points because we look at the world today as consumers. Everybody looks at the world as consumers, which means you need to label something in a certain way. You need to set the price in a certain way. I need to get my customer satisfaction in a certain way. That is what it is. That's the major problem that you see today, because when it comes to food, it has been suffering this development for so many decades that the price has become extremely low and people are completely lost. If you go not that many generations back, you remember a time where you had to actually provide for your own food. Once you understand what it means to provide for your own food, you understand both your role in nature, your dependency on nature. You understand why religion is there, because when people didn't have rain, they started looking up at the sky saying, what the fuck is going on? Can someone help us up there? All these things are based on our relation to food. Today we think that it's only businesses that can take care of us. There's no religion anymore. There's nothing besides brands. And a brand can now color itself a little bit more green and pretend that it's doing something. The other day I thought there was one thing left for me to eat, but I was watching the new Seaspiracy documentary on Netflix, and now you can't even eat any more fish if you look at it that way, because the world is extremely crooked. It is extremely crooked because all the actions that we do, we base it on our wallets. I have to say, Camilla, a little bit what you say also, we get punished for doing the right thing. And I think that this should confirm to you that you're doing the right thing, because in history, never are you doing the right thing and being rewarded for it, because what happens is always you have to pay more than the other guys. That's how it is, and that's also a little bit symptomatic for what this situation is turning out to be. And I think that the corona is a good example of the difficulties we are facing, because I think it's a precursor of when the shit hits the fan. Are we capable to globally stand together and get this solved, or are we not? And to me, unfortunately, it seems like we're not really that good at it, because you're already seeing a shit show playing out with the vaccines and things around. And I think that what the climate issue is, more than anything, it is clearly a globally connected problem that we need to be able to solve all together. Because if you don't get Africa with you, if you don't get Eastern Asia with you, it's not going to make a difference, right? If we don't use plastic straws, but everything is going to shit in Asia and Africa, it's not going to make a difference either. And the way of being globally connected is extremely, extremely difficult for us to understand today. And I think that the corona pandemic has shown that even though we can act really fast, we sure as hell need to have our ass on fire before it happens. And I'm not sure that we're capable of bringing up everybody on that same boat to make this work, no?
Yeah. What you just said, I mean, being global and etc. We received a 10 points question, which goes like this. Where is it? Yes. Could be existing a sustainability global economy. Could be existing a sustainability global economy. I don't know. Do you know, guys?
I think. Excuse me. I think you need to ask an economist because I don't know how to answer that question.
Me neither. Camilla, René, you don't?
No, I agree.
Anything can exist, obviously. If we can dream it, it can exist.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. But we're far from it. But of course, it can exist.
I think it will exist when it has to, like René said before. When we're forced to collaborate, then probably something will happen. But as long as money are involved, then that agenda will unfortunately win for a long time in the future.
That's a bit pessimistic, Camilla.
Unfortunately, I think it's realistic. But that's also why we grassroots keep working on this.
We should be more light-hearted. No, but you suggest.
Hey, I mean, I'm quite optimistic. I feel like just us discussing here, you're looking at three young people. We're in the same city. We're basically a stone throw from each other. In many ways, we share the same values. We might go at things differently. We might say things differently, but we share very much the same values. I think I'm optimistic. There's something going on. I do think so. And I see the value in that.
We have two extra questions. Post-pandemic and given the debate on sustainability, what's your take on food delivery services? Is that a trend that we should fully embrace? A quick answer.
It depends. If a company that can deliver healthy, delicious, sustainably made food options for people who are not in the condition to create that meal themselves, then I think it's a good idea. If it substitutes the horrible frozen pizza, then definitely. If it's just another commercial outlet that will serve mass-produced, horribly made pork and carrots, then no.
Got it. Christian, René? Yes, no.
Yeah,
No.
no. I think the big task here is to get people to go into the kitchen and in whatever way you consider it. So whether it is very ambitiously having people to cook some food, which is being less, it is one thing. If less ambitiously it is to bring people out where they can see some people cooking some food and be a part of that experience, that is also has some value. I think the more you detach people from the source, the less is the understanding, and the more you see the global economy having an effect on the prices of these things. And what you see now is with all the delivery services, there's a shit show going on with what they're paid, what their rights are, how this is working out, and it's very, very, very unfortunate the way that they are bringing in a number of people into this food industry or into the restaurant industry in a way that doesn't really benefit them or many other people. Of course, being a pandemic and everything is for strange measures to solve the situation that we're in, but also you have to remember that a big part of the restaurant industry's profit is also based on the beverages that you do. And as soon as you remove the food out of those kitchens, you don't even have access to the beverages. And you know, we cannot dictate the surroundings, the experience, or sell any beverages. And it's really starting to get limited what you get out of your craft. And what will happen? Quality will fall because you won't have the resources to do it.
I just want to add, I'm talking about meal boxes, not takeaway. I agree with you on that, Christian. But meal boxes as a set meal or a delivery box of fresh produce from a farm, I think that's a good something for frozen.
But using technology is something we haven't done at all, particularly not that segment of that high quality, of that small producer. You know, technology has not entered that world at all in a big way to get organized and really start, selling and taking care of logistic and distribution in terms of quality. I think those companies, they're going to be here to stay. I very much agree with Christian as well. Telling people, learning people to go into the kitchen. We might have a worldwide crisis in a pandemic, but we also have a worldwide cooking crisis. People don't cook anymore. And that is something, that we also need to sort of promote.
When you say people don't cook anymore, you mean in domestic houses or in restaurants? Because
in houses. Well, not right now. Nobody's cooking in restaurants, but obviously in houses, people are cooking less and less, and there's less and less time for it as well.
Probably right, but at the same time, because of the pandemic, people have been eating inside, have been cooking more.
Yeah, but they've been cooking more, but every delivery app has also gone up like 300% in the past year.
At the same time, humankind now can went to the moon, now goes back to Mars. Is it possible that in these days we go to Mars, but we are not able to conceive a little tiny humble upgrade to the boxes coming out of restaurants like yours? Maybe if the mankind can walk on Mars, maybe we can come with a tiny little innovations. Or I'm so overly optimistic. So you tell me, you are the experts. That's also part of the sustainable thinking.
I mean, I'm not a sustainable expert. I'm just I'm in food, and when you're in food and everything that touches the food culture, you will be in the natural world, and when you're in the natural world, you're forced into thinking about these issues. I mean, if your question is, will there be an innovation that comes out, or innovations that will suck out all the CO2 in the world and save us all, so we can continuously just use and deplete Earth's resources for profit? Christian, that's for you. That's on you.
That's a no from me, because no. But this is again the same thing. We have this idea that technology can fix it. Technology can get us on the moon, but what technology cannot change is the mindset of people. There is just apparently not a way. I think it's clear that it's based on our way of seeing life, and the philosophy behind many people's lives, and the lack of philosophy behind people's lives, that makes a world that is very difficult to change, and expecting a technology to of course there's going to be technological advances, and it's not that it's not going to help us, but there's not going to be a full technological solution to the problem. If we're talking sustainability, that's just not going to happen, because it's just history shows that it does not. It was the same thing. It was the same thing with what you thought about pesticides and insecticides. Well, we solved the problems. Now we can dominate nature in a way that it does not allow us to, it doesn't take our crops anymore. Well, there was another problem, was that we were just killing everything, and this is just how it goes on. So whenever the next technological fix is there, we just need to ask ourselves, should we start changing our minds a little bit instead?
Sir. A question again for the three of you. Do you work with plans for reducing food waste at your restaurants? Food plans for reducing food waste.
We're hoping to do a collaboration with a platform where we can have small deliveries a couple of times a month, from a week, from producers in Lyra. Right now we're working with, and when they bring our products, then we will send the food waste back, and like Christian mentioned before, hopefully be used in some sort of feed, or at least be used in rotting on the fields and becoming dirt again, instead of being burned out here a kilometer from here in a big power plant. But that's pretty much what we can do, being in the inner city. Of course, try to reduce it as much as possible in the production, but we will create food waste, and we can't, because of rats and because of other things, we can't get rid of it being so close to the city center.
I mean, at Noma, food waste is a part of operating any restaurant or peeling a carrot. But we have two programs. One is that we have a compost program. Many years ago, we tried to start a compost area in Christiania. That never worked out. Now we do it at a farm. And then for the rest of our food waste, we actually turn it into biogas. We have a 10 square meter big space in here where all our food waste gets churned up. And then it gets picked up by a garbage truck that sucks it out, and then it turns into biogas and it fuels the garbage trucks in Copenhagen. But we're lucky; we have 10 square meters for such a facility.
I can bring you mine.
I have one last question, again for the three of you. Danish legislation does not allow greenwashing in marketing for food. Is that a possibility for the restaurants? Should I repeat?
Yeah, but it doesn't allow for greenwashing for marketing in food. That's it's hard,
There's nothing like the food industry that has been using clever marketing to sell garbage. I mean, of course, it's not legal, but with every law, you have people that are intelligent enough to come around them. Of course, it's not legal to do greenwashing, but it's like saying, and is it a possibility for the restaurants to do what?
Is that a possibility?
If it's possible to, if it's then possible for restaurants to do greenwashing.
Okay,
I don't understand the question.
I read again, and I quote: Danish legislation not allows greenwashing in marketing for food. Is that a possibility for the restaurants?
I mean,
it's another point where we would have to be, bring the police. What are you going to do? You're going to measure my CO2 outlets. You're going to check my trash cans. You're going to look over the shoulders of my chefs when he or she peels a carrot. I agree with Christian. I think if you go to any standard supermarket, maybe greenwashing is illegal, but there will be a pretty little picture of a wonderful farm outside as somewhat dodgy chicken. So saying it's not legal, I think we can't market restaurants as sustainable and not sustainable. Of course, it's something you should strive towards, but I think we're at least 10 years from being able to make a label on how to measure it.
Okay. I think time is almost up. I think that we should get Anna back with us.
Yes.
Orlando.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you all of you for this inspiring conversation. Thank you so much. We received a lot of questions, really a lot. And then I would like also to thank the participants that have been very, very active and participating with a great curiosity to this talk. And please send us the questions. My email address is aor@visitdenmark.com. So please send us the questions and we will address it to all the speakers, because we are simply not able to answer to all the questions during the time available today. And I thank you again to all of you, and we all look forward to see you again. On April the 20th, we will be having the last event of Mad About Denmark. And we thank you again for this great opportunity, this conversation today. And I take the chance to wish you all happy Easter. Thank you.
Happy Easter. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.